The creators had to sacrifice visibility for a harmonious appearance. The lower edge of the rear window of the sedan is located high enough, which is why the driver does not see the extreme dimensions of the car. During lateral maneuvers, the left A-pillar is at eye level, although it does not significantly block visibility. At the same time, the ceiling of the Fawn is very high, so hardly anyone will complain about the lack of free space above their heads. Quite enough in space from the knees to the backs of the front seats in the gallery. Experts note that on some machines there is increased play in the mechanism for adjusting the angle of inclination of the backrests of the front seats, which is why the backrests dangle a little. Most of the 400 and SIXS operated on Ukrainian roads were sold by the official dealer of the French company in Ukraine. Such cars were equipped with the so-called package for bad roads, which included increased ground clearance due to the installation of higher and more powerful struts and steel crankcase protection. The model was offered in 3 versions: the basic SR, the more expensive ST, which we meet more often than others, as well as the stuffed SV with leather interior and decorative inserts under the tree, full power accessories, front and side airbag and climate control. The range of Peugeot 406 power units is wide. It includes 9 petrol and 5 turbo diesel engines, see table on page 41. By the way, during the modernization, the power of some motors increased. In addition, engines borrowed from the Peugeot 405 and 605 were excluded from the line of power units: a 2.0-liter turbo gasoline, 147 horsepower, and a 1.9-liter diesel, 90 horsepower, and 2.1-liter, 109 HP. They were replaced by more modern units: gasoline 2.2 L16V, 158 horsepower, and turbo diesels, 2.0 L, 90 horsepower, and 2.0 L, 109 horsepower, equipped with a direct injection system fuel. In our country, cars with petrol engines of 1.8 and 2.0 liters are more common. According to the service workers, with timely maintenance before replacing the rings, the motors are able to go out 300 to 400,000 kilometers. Every 80,000 kilometers in the units it is necessary to replace the timing belt along with the tension and guide rollers and inspect the water pump, since it is driven by this belt. Although the pump nourishes approximately 2 to 3 timing belt service life. In diesel versions, during these works, it is also necessary to inspect the fuel pump seal, since its leakage can damage the new belt and lead to a fatal meeting of the pistons with the valves. In all engines, the air intake is located very low in the front bumper, so on wet roads you need to beware of driving through deep puddles at high speeds. Water can enter the cylinders and cause a so-called water hammer. The service workers recalled failures of the electric fan of the cooling system located in front of the radiator. As a rule, this happens in winter, when the fan freezes over, and when turned on, the load on its winding increases and it burns out. Peugeot 406 were equipped with 5-speed manual and 4-speed automatic transmissions. Both units are generally reliable, although they can still cause minor problems during operation. So, in the mechanics, due to the effects of moisture and road salt, the gear shift mechanism can wedge. In the machine of the German company ZF, there are other problems. The contacts of the electrical connectors are oxidized, which violates the stability of its operation. Treatment is a simple cleaning of contacts and treating them with preparations such as WD-40. The maintenance of a manual transmission is a check of the tightness of the unit, the oil level in it, and topping up the lubricant. The machine is an oil change every 60,000 kilometers. Shrews anthers should be checked regularly. The appearance of cracks in them leads to the failure of the grenade. It is replaced only in assembly with the half shaft, and the original part costs over 1,600 UAH. Peugeot cars have always been famous for precise chassis and steering settings. The 406 is no exception. On this car, the French used a passively thruster multi-link suspension from behind, thanks to which the Fawn is distinguished by enviable stability and controllability. At the same time, chassis is quite energy intensive, although in our operating conditions it turned out to be short-lived. First of all, our roads kill the rear suspension. So, only about 30,000 kilometers is the thrust of the mechanism of steering. Original spare part, 400 UAH, non-original, 200 UAH, replacement work, 42 UAH. On cars before restyling, a floating silent block, egg, was used in the rear trunnion, which nursed 40 to 50,000 kilometers. Later, it was replaced with a more durable part, which can also be installed on cars before modernization. Spare part, 80 UAH, labor, 84 UAH. Racks of the rear anti-roll bar serve about 50,000 kilometers. Spare part, 175 UAH. Labor, 42 UAH. In the front independent suspension, the support bearings of the struts are the least durable, which can run 50 to 60,000 kilometers. Spare part, 115 UAH. Work, 160 UAH. The remaining parts of the front end serve about 100,000 kilometers and change separately from each other. During the restyling of 1999, the designers upgraded the brake system, abandoning the use of less efficient drum mechanisms in favor of disc ones. Notes on the brakes: over time, after 150 to 200,000 kilometers, the seats of the front caliper guides are broken, which is why they rattle unpleasantly when driving through bumps, and the parking brake drive mechanism in the rear disc mechanisms also rusts. To avoid problems with the handbrake, service workers recommend using it regularly. The steering of all versions is equipped with the hydraulic booster. The key to its trouble-free service is the timely, every 60,000 kilometers or 2 years, replacement of the working fluid. The tie rod ends nourish about 80,000 kilometers.